Alright guys, so in the last video we completed the search feature, right? We were able to display the search and also search. We did the filters, right, and the sample search. So in this section we are going to be creating the UI for the favorite screen and also for the download screen. It's going to be a short one and it's going to be simple. So here we have our category, right? More like we have the favorite, and here we have our settings. Okay, so I'm going to create the settings screen, and right in that settings screen I'm just going to put a button for viewing downloads. Okay, so when we tap on that button it's going to take us to the download screen, right? So that's what we are going to be doing. But the first thing we are going to do is to build out the UI for favorite. So right here, if we go here, you can see let's locate our favorite file. So inside here I'm going to create a new file, and I'm calling this one, I'm going to call it favorite, right? Favorite. All right, and it's also going to be a stateful widget. So I'm going to call this favorite screen. All right, so now that we have this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to our root screen, right? So I'm going to set the bottom nav item. So I'm going back to my root screen. Inside here, I think in our provider, I'm going to change this one, I think more like the third one, to the favorite. Okay, so save it, and this will require hot restart. And while it's going, I'm going to continue with the UI for the favorite screen. So if we go here now, you'll notice that we have like the placeholder, right? So here I'm going to return a scaffold, and from the scaffold I'm going to put the body. So remember the other UI that we have been doing, right? For grid view and the rest, this is also going to take the same structure. All right, so what is going to happen here is that I'm going to go to I'm going to use I think I have my home we created. Okay, let's use the search. Let's go to the search UI. Okay, so right here I'm going to copy I think something. Okay, yeah, I'm going to grab this. Okay, just this one for now. Okay, then let's go back one step. So inside here I'm going to add a body and paste it there. So this one we are just going to comment them out. Let's just use something like 3 and comment this one out as well. Return. So here, and I'm just going to import this, and this one I'm going to set it as an empty string. All right, so save it. You can see now we have, though it's showing error because we did not pass any valid image URL. So you can see how our favorite is showing, and that's how it's supposed to show. So while in the favorite, the next thing we are going to do, I think this is more like everything, or just a simple UI, right? So nothing much to be done here. Later we are going to do the implementation and connect it to provider. All right, so moving on, the next thing I'm going to do is to set up the UI for our settings, right? Because here when you click on settings, it should open up the settings screen. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to locate where we have settings. All right, so inside here I'm going to add the settings screen. Okay, all right, so here I'm going to add my stateful widget as well, and we call this settings screen. Okay, then I'm going to go to my home page, more like the root screen. Okay, the root provider rather, and I'm going to change this guy to the settings. Okay, you can see now we have successfully positioned all our bottom nav items. So this will also require a hot restart. And while that is doing, I'm going to go to my inside the settings here. Let's just click here. You can see now the settings is showing a normal placeholder. So right here I'm going to add a scaffold, and inside here I'm going to use the create a body, right? So the body is definitely going to have like a single child scroll because we want this guy to be scrollable, okay, for responsiveness. So we're going to add a column because I want to put this is more like a multi widgets. Okay, so I need to like position many widgets inside here, and for each pages I would like adding a padding so it will not be too close to the edges of the screen. Okay, So we'll do that. I know now the visuals is not really showing anything. So what we are going to do next now is to create a list view, right? No, though we are going to edit these settings later, right, while we progress. But for now, we are just going to like make everything, you know, look simple. All right. I think I just have to like build the UI of how this set. Let me just use this opportunity to complete the UI of the settings, right, and also the downloads. So we have here, we're going to create what is called, let's create a test widget. Okay. So since we are working with auto change wallpaper, right? So we are going to have a test like this, and I'm going to add style to this. Okay. And inside here, I'm going to give it a color of white and also a font size that says 18. All right. So we need to import this. Now the auto change is showing, and now we have auto change wallpaper. It's more like a control, right? We are not going to implement the logic yet. Okay. I just want to build out the UI for the settings, and then we'll move over to downloads. All right. So while we have this, I will add a spacing here. Let's say like 20, height of 20, and make sure you remove this const. Then we are going to come below the size box that we added, and I'm going to add a list type because users should be able to set intervals. So if you watch the demo video in the introduction of this course, you should understand what I'm trying to do here. And also, if you install the app on Play Store, you should also understand what I'm trying to achieve. So we have here we're going to have like select interval. So you need to select how long you want this stuff to change. Okay. Because we are using since we are using, I'm going to give this, I think, crux as this alignment. So since we are using what is it called, work manager, right? It's more like it has a minimum duration, which is around 15 minutes. Okay, so that's what we are going to be sticking. We are going to stick with that rather. So that's what we are going to be using. Okay, we'll just stick with that. So here now I'm going to add a content padding because you can see there's a space behind this select interval. So I successfully removed that. And then we are going to add a switch, right? Or more like, let's say like a subtitle for now. And this is just going to be a test widget. And we can say more like the minutes. Let's just say 15 minutes for now. Okay. And yeah, that's it. And save it. You can see how it's showing, though it's not too clear, but we can work with that. All right. So moving on, we can also get a trailing widget. And I'm going to be using switch. Let's use switch.adaptive. So it's going to adapt perfectly for Android and iOS, right? So it's just going to give us, so we're going to set the value here to true, right? On change, let's just say value. And yeah, so we are not doing anything for now. Let's remove this const. Cool, right? You can see how it is, but the color is green, so it's not like what we want, so we can change it later. But for now, let's just proceed right with what we are doing. So the next thing I'm going to do now, it should have an untap, right? When user taps on it, so normally when you tap on it, we should bring up a dialog so that you'll be able to select the duration, the intervals, and all that. So that's pretty much it for that guy. We are going to move below to the wallpaper, because users need to select the wallpaper they want to change, right? So we're going to have a test that says select auto change wallpapers, right? Because before you can apply the wallpapers, you need to like download them first, right? That way it's going to be good. So we can just have like let's wallpaper selected. Okay, so this is it. We can remove this trailing stuff, we don't need it, and the untap will just be there. So when you click on it, it's going to take you to downloads. Then you'll be able to select the wallpapers, right? And once you select, it's going to show you how many items that you have selected. The logic is not yet done, so we are going to do that later in the coming videos. So next we are going to have what we need, more like the downloads. Okay, so users should be able to view all their downloaded items, yeah, from here. Okay, so I'm also going to remove, I'm going to add an icon, So I'm going to remove this title because we don't need title. I'm going to have like a leading icon that says icons dot, let's say, downloads. Okay, and then we set a color of white. All right, and save it. You can see how it's showing pretty much what we are trying to achieve. Then I'm going to add a trailing icon as well. That is going to be an arrow, okay, to just tell user that hey, you can tap on this to go to a new screen. Okay, then we also need to have a button somewhere here that users can tap to log out from the app. Okay, let's say because we are using Firebase, right? So users should be able to log out successfully from the app. So we are going to have I think I'm going to use test widget. Okay, so here I'm going to have my logout and added some style. So I just want the style to be white. Okay, so save it. You can see now we have our logout button. Right now nothing is happening, right? So what we are going to do here, remember we already have our auth provider, right? So I'm just going to quickly implement this one before we move on. So what I'm going to do first is to style this a little because I don't like how it's looking. It's just looking like a normal text. So let's make the button to look good. So we're going to set it background color, and I can say material state property, right? And I can say .all. So we can just set our primary color here and save it. You can see how it's looking, right? So we can also set the shape. This is looking very rounded. Okay, so I can just set a shape, and let's say we are having material state property, right? And we can say .all, and here I can just return my rounded rectangular border. Okay, and I'll set a border radius. Let's give the border radius 10. So let's say border radius is circular. Let's give it 10, and also we are going to set a side, and so each side should have like a border side of white color, right? So I'm going to use border side. Let's say color dot white. Cool. All right, so it's looking like fancy, right? Okay, so moving on, we are going to like log out from the app, right? So I'm going to have like a final provider, auth provider. So yeah, so if we go here, you can see with the auth provider we have sign out, right? And if you go down, you can see that we actually implemented the sign out logic. So right here now, what I'm going to do is to say here I'm going to return contest, okay, and set this listing to false, okay, and just close it there. So moving on, we can now use our await, and then we can say provider dot sign out, okay, and make sure you make this a sync, right? Then we can just check if contest dot is mounted, okay, then we can just navigate. So we're going to close every route and then just navigate to the initial screen, which is the splash screen, and from there users should be logged out successfully. Okay, cool. So we are pretty much done with this guy. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, I think this is close to the downloads. So what I'm going to do here, just to add a height of 20, right? So I'm going to save that, right? So it has moved it a little bit downwards. So the next thing I'm going to do is to create, we have to like create something else, which is, because if you notice here we have packaging for, so it's more like to use it to get the version of the app, right? So what we are going to be doing here now, though I've not implemented the logic yet, but it's more like going to be a straightforward stuff. So I'm going to add a test widget here that says current version, okay, right? So here we can just put like a dummy string, okay, and I'm going to add a style to this, and let's say it's test style, and we can say color white. Cool. Now it's looking good, but it's more like it's close to our screen. So I'm going to use media query just to move it to the bottom of the screen. So I'll have to set something like this: media query dot of contest height, right, divided by 2.5, and you can see now it's actually at the bottom. Cool. So moving on now, we are going to like start implementing the logic for the downloads. Okay, so not like the logic, the UI for downloads. So I'm going to go over here where we have our downloads. Yeah, inside here I'm going to create download screen dot. Okay, so right here now what I'm going to do is just to use our normal stateful widget and just do every other thing that is needed, right? So I think to make this thing easier, I'm going to grab what we already have in our favorite screen. Okay, I'll come back to downloads, right? So I'm just going to change this test to download screen. All right, so why we need to navigate to the screen, right? So what I need to do now is to go to our router. So I'm going to create a new screen called downloads. Okay, so we're going to go to our router here where we have our config routers, and here I'm going to create, I know very soon we are going to add like some parameters that is going to require. So download need to like because when user taps on this select auto change wallpaper, it's definitely going to open the download screen, right? And when they tap download, it's going to open the download screen. So we need to add like a check, right? So let's just say we have our download screen. Okay, we are going to add like a check here, more like a constructor that says to know if the user is coming from auto change or the user is just coming from downloads button, right? So we're going to have a test here that says auto change selection, right? And we are definitely going to make it required, not really required. So let's just like make it that as an optional parameter, right? So I'm going to give it an initial value of false, right? So if it's false, no problem. Okay, it's just going to be like that. Then what we are going to do now is to go back to our app, and then I'll successfully route it to this guy. So I'll go to the downloads here, inside our router, okay, like the config, I'm going to like let's say the downloads, it's not really showing anything for now, right? So what I'm going to do here is to make this a block body. So inside here I'm going to accept, like, get the parameter that is being sent. So we have like final is auto change selection, and I'm going to say state.extras, like, okay, if it's null, we are going to return false, right? And we are going to make sure we cast this to a bool, right? Then we have the is change selection to the is auto change selection. Okay, I don't know, this is constant, so we need to get rid of it. All right, cool. So now we need to change this guy to downloads. Okay, so now when we go back to we're going to go like 2 steps backward to our settings screen. Okay, right here, when users are navigating to auto change selection, right, they are still going to go to the download screen, right? So what I'm going to do, I know you have not seen the UI of the download screen because we need to route to that screen. So I'm going to like use, this is definitely going to be an async because we need to await the response. Okay, so we're going to use context.push downloads and then set the value to true. So this is to tell us that the button that we clicked is actually to select wallpaper to change, right? Then if we are just doing for downloads normally, we don't need to use a sync, right? So you know why I use this await later on, so you guys are going to see it when we start the implementation. So here I'm just going to like leave this guy as null because we are already handling it. So if it's null, nothing is going to happen. Okay, so go ahead and do hot restart. And while that is doing, let's quickly locate our download screen. So now when we go to settings, all right, and you click on downloads, you can see it's opening up the download screen for us. Okay, and we can now go back. Looks like we can't really go back from the downloads, and it's not really nice. So what we are going to do, we are going to add an app bar to our download screen. Okay, something is missing. Okay, let's import that. And now we have our downloads, right? So we can go back, we can go in, we can go back, we can click on auto change, right? So for the auto change, something else needs to be different because users should be able to, normally for downloads, when it's in download, if you click on downloads, it's going to open up the view wallpaper screen, right? Then if it's auto change, when you tap, it's going to show like a selection to just a check telling you that you have selected something. All right, so I think I can just quickly create that position widget, right? So users will know that they have clicked or selected something. So what I'm going to do here, I'm definitely going to wrap this wallpaper widget because it's inside the list view. I'm going to wrap this with a stack widget. So let's have a column. Yeah, you're going to wrap it in a stack. So inside that stack, I'm going to create a positioned, and it has a child, let's just say container. So inside this container we have like a child also, and we have the test widget that says auto change selected to just tell users that, okay, auto change enabled, okay, to tell users that they have selected something. And we can also add a style to this, more like a test style, and we are going to give it a color white. All right, so moving on, you can see how it's showing, but it's not really what we want. So the next thing I'm going to do is to add some decoration to it. So we have our box decoration. I'm going to set the background color, right, and also I'm going to set the border radius to, okay, nothing is still showing, right? So let's quickly go on and add padding to this. And we can just give this padding, let's say 8. All right, so now it's like taking shape. You're going to see this later because this guy, let's say we change this color now to red. If there's any, let's say colors.red, you're going to see what we just did. All right, this is how it's showing, right? But because it's primary color and it's having the same color as this, that's why it's not showing. But you're going to see later when we start displaying images for downloads. Okay, so I'm going to add position because I want to move it a little bit to the left. I think for now, let me just stick with the color of red. Okay, so we are going to update it later, so don't be scared, right? Or don't see the UI as something that is not looking cool. So I'm going to also add right to 10. Cool. Now you can see how it's displaying perfectly. Awesome, guys. This is pretty much what I wanted you guys to see, right? So in the next section, what we are actually going to be doing is to implement the favorite feature. Yeah, so but before we do that favorite features, we need to be able to display, download and apply wallpaper. So what we are going to be doing first, I think what we are going to be doing in the next session is to view wallpaper so that we will be able to apply those wallpapers. All right, see you guys in the next video.